Hey everybody, welcome back. Today's going to be a quick lesson on more layout stuff. So as before, I will show you the parts of a layout. This is the time of the overall cut. We have the cut number over here. And we have a scene number over here. I also included a frame number, just so you know what frame your layout is. And I got this template from Aja. I believe it's the Animation Japanese Association. I believe that's what the acronym is. This says frame 1 right here. I guess you could change that when you need to. I'm using Sketchbook Pro 7, I believe. It's by Autodesk. You should be able to find this template on the class's website. I uploaded it, and if it's not there, just let me know and I'll re-upload it for everyone. It will come in a PSD file, and let's get started. So taking in the theme of my manga on a stick, what I would do is I would find myself a background if I don't have a background already. So here's a background of my little kiosk. When I originally created this, I also created a floor plan. It might be a little hard to see. So I included inside this floor plan places for shelves, a door for the basement. I have a folding chair. I have a towel rack and a toilet in the bathroom, which is behind this door. I have a vent, which is this vent out here. I had a vending machine that goes out here, and on the other side of that vending machine would be a sink, which would also be inside behind this wall. I have the bathroom door, the door that goes outside, and I also indicated how it swings out. So this is the door right here to the outside. I also included a counter, which is this counter right here. A stool, which would be on the other side of this wall, on the inside. The register, as you can see right here. I put an awning, which is this red thing right here. And I also just indicated the other side of the counter, just in case I didn't realize that there was two sides, left and right side of a counter. And this is a character I placed on a bicycle. I was thinking maybe it might be the owner or someone coming to look at the manga that I would have placed on a string somewhere. I'm not too sure exactly where I would have put it yet. And over here was just a quick sketch of what the original shop owner might have looked like. And This is like a concept slash layer layout image. This is a very early work of mine. Um, I had the idea for a while to do manga on a string. I just haven't had the time or the financing to actually do it properly. But when I did my layout design, I included the the floor plan for uh, for my initial scene, my initial set more or less, and I created the little kiosk, which might become a bigger store. Um, Initially, I believe the story was about um, the man's kiosk in Japan, in a small town. So initially, I created this kiosk so I could be kind of genuine to the source material. But inside of my other lesson in storyboards, I was showing you how I created an interior for the shop. So when the woman walks into the shop, she could have something to look at. So I created a shop so when the woman walks into the store asking if they have the latest Naruto manga, which by this time in real life Naruto has ended, but inside the story, it's going back in like 2012. I uh, I created a shop interior for in the storyboards just to show how storyboards can work when you're doing anime. And every director has their own way of doing things. It varies from studio to studio or director to director, but for the most part, the visual language is still there. You're still creating every shot, which would be a cut, would be considered a cut in Japan rather than a shot. Just same meaning, different terminology. So if I was actually going to do a layout for an anime, this right here, this concept slash layout would have been done outside of uh, the layout for the screen itself, but it's necessary to lay out all your information onto an image, like a piece of paper or your digital file, because you need to know where you are when you're inside of your scene or inside of your cut. So let's say I was let's say I was gonna place this character and the bicycle inside of my shot. I would know that this is the front and that the character would be on their bicycle here. So a floor layout is necessary and you should use them so when you're doing your layouts, you don't get lost on where the character is spatially. So that's the reason why we do layout schematics like this. and as well redesign the backgrounds and the environments. So when you're doing a layout for animation, specifically anime, you're going to have this in black and white. You're not going to go off and create a full color design, because all you're going to be doing is messing yourself up. There's when you're doing your color schematic, there's a whole other stage for that. So it's parallel to the layout stage as well as painting backgrounds. So they're choosing colors for each cut. They're choosing colors for the characters, for their clothing, for the tone, meaning the time of day. If it's morning, it might be a little more blue. If it's, I'm sorry, it might be a little more um, orangey or yellow or even whitish. It would be oversaturated if it's like during the summertime. And if it's at night, it'll be more purpley. If it's like indoors, it might be more, a little more orange, yellowish. Depends on the art style and the color direction that you're going in. I'll try to show you some samples of that if I can find them. So since I already have a color design, what I would do is basically just trace over my background right now, and I would stick my character inside of the cut. So this would be a pre-layout for my cut. And of course, if you're doing anime, you'd probably be a little bit more dynamic with your camera angle. But for educational purposes right now, I'm just going to use this image since it's simplified. And during each cut, the angle is going to change, so it would get more complex or just different as we cut in closer or we cut in further away from this initial background image. So as time progresses, in Japan they are moving towards more digital production since it's a low cost alternative to drawing on paper and doing paper paintings and layouts. And you can send information faster between different departments or companies or clients when you're using digital, since you don't need to scan or you need to shoot anything on a QAR, which is a quick action recorder, which is basically a playback of your frames compiled into the cut itself. So you're basically just shooting the animation and playing it back like an animatic almost, just for testing purposes. And they would use a machine called a QAR, Quick Action Recorder. And in digital, you can use lots of different layers so you're not stuck with a flat surface and having to erase uh, characters. I'm sorry, erase parts of your background when you're doing layouts or anything digitally. Basically, you can just create layers. So if we're going to stick to the theme of having our old man a chibi size, I would have him just here and either use this later for a frame and just animate to this. Or if it wasn't good enough, I would basically have to go back and create a new frame for it. But when you're doing anime, you have to kind of be cautious of time and money, so you won't necessarily always not use your layouts. And your director who will be doing the layouts would usually be on point with their layouts, because that's basically their job. And of course, layouts change just like anything else. It's hard to see him since it is black on black. So spatially, I would just create a character against the background so I can tell one, where my perspective is, and I can determine how large my background is. So when I hand this layout to an animator, they can animate properly and it will match up with the background painting of this cut, which this layout would also go to a background painter in case they haven't painted the background prior to this. So either the layout person or the background painter are working off of one another. So if the background is painted beforehand, I would have that, and I would use that for my background and my layout. But if I've created a layout first with the background sketch, that layout will go to the background painter and they would use that to paint the background. So it's all, every department is working together, and lots of times are working at the same time simultaneously. as well as the production assistant. His job is from the beginning of the show to the end of the show, and they're there at every stage to make sure everything goes as according to schedule. So let's say if I was going to change up my character from the old man shop owner to the more recent design of the panda bear, I would swap out the characters. So I would get rid of the old man character and I would draw in my panda bear. So since the panda bear is pretty big, I kind of don't really fully offhand remember how the panda looks. But if I was doing this for production, and if they're doing this for an anime, they would have their character designs in front of them or on their desk somewhere, so they know what the character looks like and they keep the character on model. Or at least a good representation of the character. So when an animator gets a hand on this cut, they know exactly what character is where and what the character should look like. So our panda is a little generic looking. Nothing really to the character. That's weird. It kind of looks like he's a little hunched back in this one. Some claws, even though my initial design didn't have any claws. But he looks like a bear. So this is quite simplified layout. I have a perspective going on, and it's ascending way off the page. I have my character, and if this was going to be a production layout, I would definitely have this character doing something because it would probably be used in the animation pipeline. So I would have, whatever cut number this was, whatever sequence it is, and whatever frame I would like this to be, and the time of the whole cut itself. So let's say this was 3 seconds plus 8 frames. So it's akin to the storyboard timing. You indicate how many seconds plus how many frames the whole cut is going to take. And you would have timed this cut either at this stage if you didn't do it in the storyboard stage. And you would use that time to animate the whole entire cut itself. So when an animator gets a hand on this layout, they know exactly how long this whole cut is supposed to be. So if this is a production layout, it would more than likely be very loose, not so much tied down, but you want to have the information that's inside of the cut itself. So let's say I had the panda bear and he's sitting on a stool. So when you're doing layout, there won't be any dialogue indication. Your dialogue would be written on a storyboard, and the layout is created from the storyboard itself. So you could either use the images from the storyboard and basically just enlarge them and just make a better image from that storyboard. Or if there's a revision that you need to do, you would revise that image in the layout if you don't have time to do it within the storyboard itself. So if we were going to draw the panda bear inside of the kiosk or inside of the store and he's bored, that's what he would look like if he was inside behind a counter. And so if we removed the part of him that's supposed to be behind a counter, it gives the appearance that he's now inside. So if I took this and I handed it to an animator, they would know that this cut itself is 3 seconds plus 8 frames, so they would do their keyframes and then do the breakdowns, and then after the breakdowns they'd put the in-betweens in if they weren't outsourcing the in-betweens to another company or country and a company within that country. They would know that to whomever gets to do the animation all the way through, the key animation, and as well as the in-betweens, they know that this is how long the cut is supposed to be, and that this layout itself, this one frame within that 3 seconds and 8 frames, would be frame number 12. So they could work off of this layout and animate, but know that this is frame number 12. And at frame number 12, this is what the character should be doing. So I hope that made a little more sense when it comes to doing layouts. I'll see if I can find some examples for you guys and talk a little bit about those examples. After this, the animation process would start once all the layouts are done. And even just as the layouts are done, meaning like I just created this layout and I'll hand it to the animation department and someone will start working on it. So that's your course in a quick layout, and we'll be moving on to animation soon.